completely like that, even with the spots and everything. It's just I saw it in the dream as a transparent figure. On Photoshop, I tried to recreate that and make it into this three-dimensional, transparent thing.
As you saw it in the dream.
And it really, I stayed very true to that vision when I made that copy. So I would say that's very, very much related. In its present form was directly from the dream.
So it went from the dream to the Photoshop to the sculpting to the...
Right. Well, it's just kind of how to get from... Because that vision felt to me so clear from the dream that, well, that's really interesting. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Can I make that? So it kind of set me on that path of going to here. Because I was really playing with paper. I was going to cast paper pulp and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it just didn't feel quite right. And then when I got the dream.
Right. So was that satisfying to get to a point where it really, it just...
Right, it's like having another voice. It's like somebody else, coming into the studio and saying, "Have you thought of doing that in black rubber?" And it's kind of like the dream is another voice that comes in and helps shift or shape. Did you think of doing this way? And then it gives me a visual. And so, in some ways, I feel like it's like a great critic who can come in and give me pointers on something. So I definitely pay attention. And the angel was a big...
Oh yeah, tell me about that. Was there a dream with that one?
Because I had... that was specifically for a commission that I was applying for to be placed in Ashland. And it was... I was creating the design and thinking of how it would work and what it was supposed to pertain to, and that the angel met certain criteria that they had in the call for artists. And so in my thinking about that, putting that together... I was playing around with a bunch of different ideas, and the angel was just, again, just in its entirety, that's what it was. That's what the piece was, and I woke up and I sketched it out quick, and I put it all together, and I was so invested in that dream of the piece. It seemed so vivid in the dream of what it looked like. That I felt, even though it didn't get selected for the public art project, I had to still make it. It felt like it was, for some reason I was compelled completely to go into debt severely and make the piece. And so it was about a year of work and casting it, welding it together, and putting it all together in a very meticulous way. It's done with a very high degree of craft on that piece, and it just felt like that was another piece that was very much inspired by a dream. And even the helmet, people ask me, why is she in this four-sided pyramid-like, helmet? And I have no idea. I really don't know.
But that's how you saw it in the dream.
Yeah, it's very clearly how it looked, and I'm just making it like what it looked like, because it kind of looked like a bishop's hat or something. And subsequently, I've run across two people who've come to me and said that they've seen visions of angels that have had that hat that were wearing. One person was equating it, he thought it was Michael, the archangel, and specifically had never seen a hat like that any other time than his vision of the angel. And I love stories like that. I love when people have like I'm linking to something kind of universal, or I start getting a little
Right.
Yeah.
But something in the collective maybe. Different. What about when you're working on a commission piece, like a pirate or something for a city, or something that isn't from your dream necessarily?
Right.
But while you're working on it, somewhere in the process, do your dreams feed how you approach working on it?
Sure.
Does that ever happen?
I don't think it's ever not the case. I really don't. I think everything that I'm doing, even if I'm not working on art, even if I'm, playing with my child, that it's that interaction with him that gives me an insight to something, or I see something a certain way, and my interaction the next day is different. I don't separate. That's what I was saying early on, that the separation between art and life, my life and art are all so intertwined, and in that dream space, there's things I'll do with with people or my son that relate to a piece, that it comes out as a piece, or a piece comes out to how I relate to my son.
Right. So you feel it impacting one and another.
Very much goes back and forth. And there's times where, I've been on hiatus. When he was first born, I was just completely, I did very little artwork during that time. I was just absorbed into being a new dad. And so I kind of was on hiatus or sabbatical for a while. And it's still the effect on my life and how I've had a relationship with dreams is, it's always been a guide, even if I'm not doing artwork.
How your dreams have affected your work and how just all the things that you just shared with me. Do you ever talk about that with other people in your working environment, like the artists next door, for example, or other artists that you have coffee with in town?
Yeah, there's some people that I can talk with about that, and other people that don't really care. So, but yeah, there's several people in town that I've had discussions with about even their relationship to dreams, and their subject matter comes specifically from dreams. Denise Kester is one in particular. She very much is about the dream perspective on the shamanistic kind of figures. So yeah, I do have interactions with people about where their inspiration comes from, and it gets back to the whole idea of muse, and this idea of Shekinah or a muse coming to you and giving you these insights, or whispering in your ear, or it's always been there. And so the question of where is your muse? I think dreams are a big part of that. I think it's intertwined with life, and I think the idea of dreaming for something, or thinking of something, or having something in your mind, one thing is you'll notice those things happening more often, and it may very well be that those things occur more often. And so the idea of what's being drawn into your life is really what's in your consciousness. And so if your subconscious is part of that, and what you're dreaming about, it draws things to your life. And so I think discussing that with people, or having even this conversation that we're having affects my life, and that this will cause me to think about certain things. And that's with any dialogue. The idea of the book God is a Verb, or the idea that God is action, and this idea of dialogue between two human beings, and the concept of godding, or we're wrestling with questions, and we're getting to understand each other and becoming closer to a unity. And so I think this wrestling with artwork, and wrestling with a dialogue, and wrestling with understanding dreams, or understanding how profound is this? Is this just a whimsical thing that we dream and we disregard it, or is this the most important aspect of my life? And we're wrestling. And so I like the wrestling match, because that's action. And that if you're in action, then more things will come to you.
Do you find that when you have this conversation with other artists, or in the past, when you have had conversations with artists, has it supported you to feel more, has it affected your work with the dreaming and the art? Has it just been more of a connection?
I think I take it as validation in a way. It's like it gives me a validation that there's something there, or there's, but at the same time, what I was saying before about I leave it alone, it's like, it's great. I like a little validation, or, the idea of hallucinogenics, or that sort of thing of expanding your vision, or seeing. I find that it's such a messing with your reality that I've always equated it to, it's like we're sitting in a room that has this beautiful tapestry on the walls that's just amazing, and diving into that world, or trying to open that door of perception, is like finding the thread that you start saying, whoa, wait a minute, this is all made out of fabric. And look at how cool this fabric is, and you're starting to unravel your world.
No more
and
tapestry.
the tapestry's gone. You got a pile of yarn in the middle of an empty space. And so I've kind of, even where I see it a little bit frayed, I kind of stuck it back in. Like I want it to be intact because I think that's how I function best.
You want
I
to
know there's a lot
interact with it, but not change it.
Right. I love the validation of saying, wow, you see that? You see how amazing that is? You see how this is all woven together in such an amazing way? Great, let's keep it that way. And so...
And, as you said before, when you do something in the waking life, like a piece of artwork, it might affect your next dream.
Oh, yeah.
And so on. So in that sense, you're
yeah.
affecting it or possibly changing it. Who
right.
knows, right?
It's a weaving. It's all amazingly connected. I studied a very small amount, but I've studied some Kabbalah. The idea of that interconnectedness is never so poignant as when you start getting into the mathematics of structure or the mathematics. It's beyond accident. It's so incredible. And there too, I start getting a little unhinged. The farther I go into that, it kind of tears your world apart, kind of like a movie Pie, where you're just kind of like. And
so boundaries are important. Boundaries are important.
Yeah, very much so. I did these pieces that were paintings that had small doors that I built out of wood. And in the middle of the landscape painting was a small wooden door that you can open up. It's hinged and everything. And in the door, when you open it up, there's, in perspective, a little corridor, kind of like a little Willy Wonka corridor, that has a little cobblestone path, and it goes to a lens, like a magnifying lens, and a mirror behind it. So when you look in the door, you see yourself upside down and backwards. So you move to the left, it moves to the right, you move to the right, it moves to the left, and it's really disorienting. And it's kind of that, where it feels like, okay, you open that door, it's really disorienting, and it's kind of cool, you see yourself, but there's something really comforting about closing the door and keeping a closed door.
Do you think there might be some potential in the future for that kind of work to happen, where people talk about dreams and art and influence and support each other in an artistic environment? Do you think that kind of thing would be beneficial?
Yeah, I think it's essential. I think it's this is just my crazy little idea of where the world's going, but I really think that all those I'm hoping that we're moving in a direction where it's all becoming much more transparent. And the intuitive, happenstance, amazing synchronistic moments that are happening will become commonplace, and everybody will start to see and be aware of how we're all interconnected in a way that, I mean, I've been through enough experience in life to know that I can read people's minds. We can understand where each other is coming from. It's just how much are we aware of it? How much are we connected to that? And I think, I do believe that we're moving in that direction where that's becoming thinner and thinner, and the veil between dream and life, I think, for me anyway, has become thinner. And it just feels like that's where it's moving to. Whether that's really what's happening in the world or that's my perception of it, I don't know. But for my reality, that's more the case every year. So I have a feeling that that dialogue is inevitable, that we're all going to be understanding that we're much more connected than we think we are.
The final question is there anything just that you'd like to add about dreams or creativity?
Just enjoy the process. Enjoy the process of it all. Whenever I lose sight of that, I got to remind myself that it's all